Okay, so let me make a short list of things that you actually need continuing forward for trig stuff. Like the things you actually use in calculus. Okay?
Triangle factors.
Things you need. And really this is pretty loose because you really need, yeah, you need actually a few things. So you need to know SOHCAHTOA, right? You need to know inverse trig functions. And you also need this trick, which is take rando trig function inverse right, these are actually interchangeable in position, and some kind of stuff. So a problem that looks like this is take the sine or the cosine of sine inverse of x.
You need
right?
to know like which order will work and which order won't when you're.
I'm not so worried about which order as I am about you think. You guys want to see one of these?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so if we want to do. Like,
What's underneath that? What's it say? It says trig function? Or what?
so this says trig function and this says rando trig function inverse.
Okay,
So what I mean by that is something like cosine of sine inverse of x. You should be able to come up with a value for this, or at least an expression in x's. So the way you do that is you think to yourself, okay, this thing's drawing some kind of triangle, right? There's some angle that's sine inverse of x. Okay, so I'm just going to take that part, I'm going to call it theta, I'm going to put it here. What do I know about theta? Yeah, it gives x when you take sine of it, right? So what's this sine? Sine's the opposite over the hypotenuse, right? So when you put x in there, you think, okay, x over 1. So the opposite side's x, the hypotenuse is 1. So what's the adjacent side? Yeah, it should be cosine of theta, right? Which is kind of why I'm hunting for it here. You guys see that?
Okay.
So this should bring up another tool you actually need. What's the other tool you actually need? Yeah. You need the Pythagorean theorem or the Pythagorean trig identity. It doesn't matter which here. You do need both. Yeah. So here that's going to look like noticing that this side is 1 minus x squared long. And so of course the cosine here is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse, right? So this whole thing turns into the square root of 1 minus x squared. You guys with me on that? This is what Merrill calls triangle time, right? And this comes out of some kind of like, oh crap, I don't know how to put this kind of thing into my calculus tool, but I can do something with sines and cosines to make it fit, but then you end up with an answer like this and you need to simplify. Cool? So there is some use to that trick. Like that trick comes up often enough that I'm highlighting it when I was saying something about inverse trig functions, right? Like you need to know more about inverse trig functions, but that thing especially happens. You need to know the Pythagorean theorem and the Pythagorean identity. What else do you need to know? Let's see. The half angles. Or that thing that I call the half angle identity, which might or might not actually be the half angle identity. And then what else? Let's see.
You don't know log sines and log cosines.
Yeah, so we should know how to solve triangles. So that's right triangles and not right triangles. In not right triangles, you need the law of cosines, law of sines. Cool. That's just kind of general stuff. And then there's one more trig identity that I actually feel like you need to know, which is the sum of angles. And then maybe actually hilariously, the most important thing you need to know is not on the list yet. Yeah, you absolutely need to know something about radians and also those two standard triangles. Slash maybe memorize the unit circle. I personally don't memorize the unit circle, I just know how it works. If you guys memorize it, great. If you want to just know where the standard triangles are and how the unit circle works, that's also fine. And then it also helps to have, what's the other thing I haven't mentioned up here? Yeah, so you're going to want to know some derivatives and stuff, but that's like stuff you're going to learn in calculus class, not stuff you need to start. So the other thing you need to kind of know to start is those like secant slash cosecant slash cotangent, like, yeah, the other functions basically. You guys cool with that?
What about
So-
logarithms?
Yeah, so this is the like trig stuff you need to know.
Okay.
For the other stuff, yeah, a giant working understanding of all of algebra 2 is huge. Cool? You guys good with this? And then maybe under inverse trig functions, there should go a, like, be frickin' careful, right? Anytime you're doing inverse trig functions, you need to be a little careful because we restricted those domains. They're not really inverse functions.
Or just angles, finding angles, right?
Yeah, and then kind of just a general like facility with angles is nice. But I think all of you guys have that for sure.
No, I meant for inverse trig functions. That's why you have to be careful for finding
Yeah,
angles.
you have to be careful with inverse trig functions because when you try to find an angle, sometimes there should be several answers.
Yeah.
Really, always there should be several answers. You guys cool with that?
What did you write below radians? I can't remember.
Standard triangles.
Oh, standard.
Yeah, so that'd be the 30, 60, 90 and the 45, 45, 90. You guys will recognize this as basically the contents of that paper that I used for trig class.
Yeah.
Should've just done the paper for this class.
Yeah, I remember asking you at the very
Wait,
first
did you just
week,
give a
like,
formula
did you
sheet?
give us a paper or do you?
So I gave these guys this talk written down on a sheet of paper. I just, when I was prepping for trig class, I thought to myself like, okay, what do you actually need to know to do calculus? And I just started making bullet points and came up with basically this list. And then I brought it in the first day and I was like, hi guys, I've never taught trig before. Here's a piece of paper that has all of trigonometry on it. And then I vastly overestimated how fast that would be learned. So like, we'll learn this in like a week. And yeah, some of you learned it really well.
Some.
What's up?
So were we behind like 2 weeks at the
Yeah,
end?
the very first test.
No, we were fine. We were fine.
The very first
Don't whine.
test was awful.
What's
Don't
up, Joe?
whine.
What did I forget?
You need an understanding of how graphic works,
Oh.
of like sine, of trig functions.
Oh, so like shifting rules and stuff?
Yeah, that's a fair complaint up here. I don't have graphs
What
of,
stuff looks like at a certain radian, or a certain point on a Cartesian plane.
yeah, so you really should know how to graph all the trig functions and the shifting rules that go with those. Cool? That's a fair, yeah, that helps a lot. Cool?
I'm assuming all this is going to be on your next test next week.
Yeah,
Fair.
sure. That's probably fair. I was gonna give you something that pretty much resembled a trig final.
Oh, sick.
Cool.
Oh, sick. I didn't get that.
I remember because I handed it to you, you looked at it,
You guys don't follow.
you're all smarter than you look.
Yeah, we did polar.
Last week.
We did polar on Monday. Yeah.
I don't follow this. You need to like know how polar and stuff works.
I'm gonna keep adding to this list.
Yeah. You have Cartesian,
Yeah, so-
polar, and then,
Yeah, don't worry about them.
what about the third one?
So I'll tell you what. I will give you guys a Xerox copy of the thing from trig class that I updated all the way through the semester.